I'm going to start off setting the objective of these immersive sessions. Then maybe refer back to the discussion that we had with Deepesh last week, and subsequently introduce you, give a background of your designation, your association with Intel. It's 16 years, right? You've been with Intel for 16 years.
That is right, Karan. Yep.
Okay, and just a couple of lines about Intel India Center, and maybe you can introduce yourself after that, and that is where I would follow up with a set of questions. But this is largely the flow, Gurpreet. And with regard to the client computing group, I understand that it's the second largest in Intel in terms of revenue, right? And also pretty large in terms of the operating income as well.
Yeah.
Right. So
go ahead, Karan.
Yeah. So I want to set that context and say, so given the strategic nature of this particular business unit, what role has the COE been playing to deliver business impact? So we spoke about the business impact yesterday, but I just wanted to re-verify on this concept of CCG being the second largest in terms of revenues.
And this is where, I'll, in response to that, right, I'll bring up that, hey, let me shut this off. We are, as part of the COE, we are delivering to whole of CCG roadmap in terms of making sure that we have the right hardware to validate our silicon before it goes to customers. And on top of it, there are reference designs that are done by this team that are delivered to our customers for them to design their product. So there are three things that are directly helping CCG with the business and how we're creating impact through the COE. So yeah, we can cover that.
Perfect.
I will. So the things that I want to talk about, I don't know which ones I'll forget to mention. I'll just say it, and maybe you can. If you remember, I didn't talk about one of these, you can nudge me. I definitely want to talk about naturally the journey that what we call internally the 4 C's of driving the change, which any successful COE knowingly or unknowingly would have gone through that, which is you start with confidence because you have some capability, and then you are consistently delivering results, and then you're collaborating. You get noticed and more people collaborate with you. And when you collaborate, naturally there is, more creative work that's happening, which gives you more confidence, and you go into that loop and you come out stronger as a COE. And that's what has happened with us. This other BUs noticing us is because of that, right? Because they see us consistently delivering results for CCG, and they want to collaborate and work with us. So that's the example, or what I'll go in more detail about it. That's one. The other part that I want to talk about is our FUBs. This is the concept that we started and by the way, our ambition to be a center of excellence was literally grounds up. It was not, as we talked about yesterday, right? It was not a mandate. It was not a wish from a leader, just one person. It was something that the team, we did a winning aspiration exercise about 7-8 years ago. And the team came up with the grounds up vision saying, hey, we can be there. We can be that. It's like being an OEM inside Intel, right? Being an OEM and ODM inside Intel. And we are fully capable. We can do this. So being the center of excellence was a vision that was literally grounds up. And that led to, the passionate technical leaders forming these FUBs. FUBs are literally, the full form is functional unit blocks. These are domains where each of the technical experts lead each of those domains to groom up the next level, to be ready for taking on, what they are doing today, right? So they're grooming the next level. And they go and try to solve the bigger challenges. So that I definitely want to talk about. And then, yeah, the biggest lessons for me personally in all this journey has been, basically perseverance and patience. It pays to be, if you are looking for, quick returns, you will get very frustrated very soon. So patience, perseverance, and of course, the most important part, which is passion, which, once we did this exercise as part of the team, the whole team had that drive and that passion, and were speaking the same language about, hey, we want to get there in next 4 to 5 years. That's a vision that not just me, but all the technical leaders and the next level talked about. So those are the few things, I'll be talking about, Karan. In case I miss some of that, you can probably nudge me in that direction.
No, absolutely, Gurpreet.
Okay.
Yeah, we have 5 more minutes to start. So yeah.
Okay.
We are all set.
Yeah, let me get a glass of water. I'll be back.
Sure, yes.
Just a second. I just came from the
video quality coming through well, Madhu?
Yes.
My side, or is it grainy?
So I think, Karan, from your side, I think it's a bit grainy. Can you just do the setting?
I don't know. This is
No. Zoom, go to video settings and enable the HD option.
video filter.
No. Where is this video? What do you call? You have the video icon, right? There's a mute icon, and meaning there's audio icon and the video icon. The stop video option is there.
Okay, it's HD is enabled, Madhu.
Enabled. And can you adjust to low light if it is adjust for low light? Is it? Yeah, I think it's better now. Yes.
It's better now?
It's better now. But still a bit of grain. I do not know why.
I think it's just the resolution of my laptop camera. I think it's MacBook Air, but still disappoints from a camera perspective.
We're looking into that, Karan. No, seriously, one of the key focus areas for us now is that we have the best user experience for people naturally working from home, learning from home, and collaborating, right? So camera usages is really huge. Besides a bunch of other collaborative experiences that we need to make sure that we make the best experience too. So yeah, we'll get that fixed up. Upgrade your laptop soon.
I'll have to upgrade my laptop. So yeah.
Good.
All right. Yeah. Let me also just quickly grab a glass of water.
Sure.
We should have called this coffee with Karan.
Correct. I think it's getting so used now. I think people are familiar with Karan as well. I think we should set up a brand coffee with Karan.
Well, that's interesting because I've been running quite a few
sessions
of these sessions for NASSCOM.
Yeah, you seem to have a flair for it. So you should start your own technical coffee with Karan.
Technical coffee with Karan, yeah.
I don't know, call.
Maybe I'll have to think about some branding on this front.
You should, seriously. By the way, I'm coming from airport. I don't think we are back to post-pandemic, okay, Bangalore.
You were very quick.
No, I started at 6 in the morning. Had to drop my niece. Dropped her on the way back. Luckily, I had a driver, so this time I wasn't driving.
Okay.
It's horrible traffic.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't seem like we are still in the midst of a pandemic.
Yeah. True.
Right. So Madhu, so you'll give us a cue, right? And
I will give a cue. I'll do a countdown and start. Okay. we would go live in about 10 seconds from now. I'll do a countdown and then we can get it started. I will pause a bit because I would allow people to join in and then we'll get started. Okay. So we will go live in 10 seconds. Countdown of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then we are live. Good morning, everyone. We'll wait for a minute for other participants to join, and then we'll start the session. Okay, here we go. Yeah. Good morning and warm welcome to each one of you for the second part of this NASSCOM Immersive series on building world-class technology CoEs. And thank you for joining us. And I am Madhusudanan, and we have Karan Kamal, consultant and co-founder at Future Factor 360, in conversation with Gurpreet Singh Sandhu, Senior Director, Intel. I'm sure you would have all enjoyed the last session with Deepesh Shah, MD Samsung Research, sharing great insights on how SRIB is playing currently a critical and strategic role in their technology roadmap. And here we go, the second session we would be having Gurpreet here. And I'm sure, we will all get to know a little bit better on Intel Inside. And without further ado, I would allow Karan to start the proceedings for the day. Over to you, Karan.
Thank you so much, Madhu. Very good morning to all of you who have joined us today. Today's session is, in fact, as Madhu mentioned, a continuation of the Immersive series on building and scaling world-class centers of excellence. The objective of this series is to have leaders of GCCs in India share their experiences, insights on building world-class centers of excellence. Last week, you heard Deepesh Shah share his views of how Samsung Research Institute, Bangalore, has been able to, drive some of large-scale strategic initiatives for Samsung globally through their CoEs in India. And today, to discuss on this very topic, we have Gurpreet Singh Sandhu, who is the Senior Director, Client Platforms and Systems Group, which is a part of the Client Computing Group at Intel, where he will share his perspectives from an Intel point of view. Gurpreet has been associated with Intel for over 16 years now. And Intel, just for some context, is Intel India is Intel's largest center outside the US, and they have state-of-art, cutting-edge research being delivered out of Bangalore and Hyderabad. So with this, I would request Gurpreet to please introduce himself, and then we can get started with our discussions.
Hey, thanks, Karan. First of all, thank you for this opportunity. And I think you did a pretty good job of introduction. So I'll just add a little bit more. It's roughly about 25 years in industry. Started out, I'm a hardware designer by degree and I've worked in hardware design throughout. And initial few years were in with what initially was AT&T Bell Labs, eventually became Lucent. And then moved on to Intel, and been, like you said, 16 years in Client Computing Group. And we will talk about in more detail about the, how did we establish this team as a center of excellence for platform and system hardware design. Let's get into that discussion. And thank you, Karan. Thank you, NASSCOM, for this opportunity to be here to talk about this journey that we as a team has been on.
Thank you so much, Gurpreet. And a quick input to the audience. If you have some questions for Gurpreet, please keep posting them in the chat, and I'll bring them up at appropriate points during the conversation. So with that, Gurpreet, my first question is, could you highlight some of the focus areas of the Center of Excellence that you currently lead at Intel?
Yeah, so Karan, as we started out, as I mentioned, right? We started out as a board design team that initially was the very simple, very small team. But then the vision that we had was literally grounds up. We started to think about, hey, how can we do a lot more and add more value for Intel? And that's where we started to think about and added additional capabilities and additional charter from this team. And today, currently, we deliver three key things from this Center of Excellence. So our focus, our main focus continues to be platform hardware, which is to make sure that we deliver really high quality validation hardware, which is absolutely required to validate our silicon before it goes out to customers, right? For them to build their products on. So that is, it's really crucial for Intel success, for CCG success. And this team now has that full charter to go deliver that for CCG roadmap. So we deliver that hardware. On top of it, what we added is we deliver reference designs, which are designs that are done outside in. So we look at it, we behave internally as an OEM, and we design a product. We start with the product mindset, saying, okay, what would a next gen laptop would look like? What are the features? What are the user experiences that we need to drive on that? And then we set that goal, that what we call winning spec, a spec, if it were to be made into a product as is, would really win in the market. So once we set that, then we go make that full reference design work, outside in, and give that out, not as a product, but give that out as a reference to our customers. Now, customers can pick the whole reference as is, or they can pick parts of it and use it in their products to get their products out in the market. And lastly, what we also are delivering from this Center of Excellence is system technologies. Now, these are technologies that enable us to hit that winning spec. And we have certain focus areas, thermals, board miniaturization, connectivity. These are the few key ones. And we keep on adding more, depending upon our interaction with the customers as we learn, what are some of the pain points that they're having. And then we go focus on addressing those pain points. And generally addressing these pain points is through making sure that we deliver the right technologies for them to get a right product out to their customers, so the end user has the right experience using Intel branded laptops in the with them. So those are the three key things, Karan, that are the deliverables from this Center of Excellence, or our focus. And like I said, our focus grew. It's not that we started out with a mandate that, hey, we're gonna go out and do these three key things. We started out with very simple. It's a very simple board design team, right? Then our aspirations grew, right? And we kept on adding one at a time to those aspirations started to deliver. Karan, you're on mute.
Talking about this evolution journey, Gurpreet, so where you never started off as a COE per se, but eventually evolved into a Center of Excellence. Can you talk a little more about the journey in terms of what were the challenges that you faced, and what were the things that you did right to enable you to become a preferred partner to the internal business?
Yeah, so like I pointed out, Karan, it didn't start out as a, hey, we're gonna set up a COE in Bangalore. It started out by someone having a look at Bangalore and saying, hey, looks like we have this capability there in terms of platform hardware design. Can we have a board design team set up in Bangalore? It was as simple as that. Beyond that, it was all the vision of the team, the aspirations of the team, that we kept on adding more to it. And I generally believe, and it's true, I think it's true, knowingly or unknowingly, if you if you are a COE, knowingly or unknowingly, you've gone through this what I call 4 C's of change, right? These are 4, starting with the first C, and that is the capability of confidence. You have self-confidence, you have the capability that, yeah, we can be a board design team, no issues, right? And people will give you that. Once you have that self-confidence, people will give you that charter, that work to get started, right? So once you have that, the next C is very critical, which is consistency. You got to deliver and continue to deliver day in, day out results that are, really beating the bar that has been set for you, and do it consistently. Once you're doing it consistently, there'll be others. Either your own leadership will notice that, hey, these guys are really doing fantastic work, and they're beating all our expectations. They will either give you, within your organization, will give you additional charter, or look for ways where you can add more, or there'll be other BUs that will notice you doing this. Once you have that, there'll be people who'll be willing to collaborate with you, right? The trust would be that much more, and they'll be willing to collaborate. So that's the third C, collaboration piece of it. Once you have that collaboration, and if you approach it in the right way, in my opinion, collaboration, when you have diversity in mindsets, that comes with collaboration, ultimately you are going to be more creative, right? And once you're more creative, more innovation comes in. You're doing a lot more than what you were doing just last year, let's say. The self-confidence grows, right? Your confidence has grown, your capability has grown, and if you continue to deliver consistently, more collaboration will happen, which means more creativity will happen. And so that's the cycle that I believe a team that is driving for a really good, mega transformation would always be going through. And our team was no exception. We've gone through it. Now, you talked about, were there any challenges? Were there any in this journey? Of course, right? It's not always hey, you've been delivering consistently these results, and it'll almost magically will transform into, all right, I want to work with this team. You have to make a lot of effort to get noticed. It's that part is for the leaders of the team to go make sure that they are evangelizing, talking about the capabilities, make sure they people notice you. Once they notice and they are on the table with the collaboration mindset, then it's up to you how you grab that and turn that opportunity into really something meaningful for your team. And one thing that worked for us really well, Karan, in all of this was we did this exercise where instead of couple of leaders or the leadership coming up with, hey, you know what, we want to be this center of excellence for CCG and go deliver to this. We did a grounds up exercise. We got the whole team together. We did this exercise on winning aspirations, and what should be our winning aspiration be in the next 4 to 5 years. And it was actually the team that came up with, hey, we are capable, and we can be, though it's a little far, but we can really be a true center of excellence, behave like an OEM inside Intel, and go after that. So once that was established, we didn't have to pass down this message. It was grounds up. So everyone was excited, everyone was passionate, they were all driving. Our technical leaders were doing fantastic work. Every time a new opportunity came, they just hit it out of the park. And that got us to where we are currently.
That's very interesting in terms of how you've traversed this journey. But what really enabled Intel to look at India as a destination for this kind of activity?
Yeah, first of all, there's the I think we shouldn't be shy about the first part, which is first of all, the capability into the board design. It exists in our ecosystem. It's present, and our burden rates are really good compared to if the work was getting done in US, for example. So that first initial look you get because of that. What you make out of that is up to you, right? That's when you actually start to build on it. That's when you have that. and you come up with what is it that you want to do going forward. By the way, you can continue to be, there's a lot of organizations would stay there. You keep on delivering to the board needs. And if you don't have a hunger to do a lot more, if you don't have that vision, then you'll stay there. You will be a very good board design team, but that's where the transformation needs to happen, and that's where you need to, okay, I have this. Now, what additional value add I can bring for my group, for my BU? What are the things that and you need to be, one of the concepts that has really helped us, Karan, in all this is, and my team, if you talk to anyone, they will say this without a blink. For us, the biggest thing is understanding your customers. And when I say customers, it's internal and external. What are their needs? How are they using your hardware, right? And what are the pains that they have as they use your hardware, right? For example, my bigger boards that are used for silicon validation and platform validation that goes to, they're deployed in thousands, within tens of thousands within Intel. And there are labs all over the world, okay, which use this hardware. My engineering managers and technical leaders who are part of the team, they know our customers and they stay in touch. They constantly talk to them, make sure that they understand, hey, as they use this hardware, what are some of the pain points that they feel? And then we make sure that we address those pain points. And as you're addressing those pain points, that's when innovation happens. That's when the change happens. That's when you refresh and try to do better. And same goes for on a very different level, very different scale, goes for reference designs that go out to our customers. We meet at least, our engineers meet on a very regular basis, but at least a very formal. In fact, we just finished meeting with Taiwan ODMs and OEMs in the past, where just a month ago, and we do this on at least a couple of times in a year. We used to do this pre-pandemic in a face-to-face, travel there, spend about a week with all of them, go sit with them and ask them, hey, you've been using a reference design. What are the issues? Are you seeing any concerns? Is there something that you want us to do differently? Now we still do it, but do it more in a virtual face-to-face. So these making sure that you stay constantly in touch and understand. For example, you may feel that I have the hang of it. I know what my customers want, but if you're not talking to them, because their needs are also evolving. Their needs are evolving. Why? Because the industry is evolving, right? Because user expectations are evolving. What was okay 1 year ago may not be okay now. For example, on the in the current situation where people are working from home, kids are learning from home, the expectations from a laptop as their primary device for collaboration are very, very different, Karan, as we jokingly talked about just before this meeting. So making sure that one is we can anticipate those by ourselves, because we are also we know the end users also, but making sure that we stay in touch with our OEM partners, and if we hear something like this from them, hey, you know what, these experiences are ultra important, so you need to focus on this. We go back and make sure that we deliver those through our reference designs, and make sure that we have right system technologies that help to bring those experiences alive in our laptops, and also work with our IHV partners in the ecosystem to make sure that we have the right hardware which our OEMs can integrate and deliver those experiences.
So, you mentioned about consultative solutioning being a very critical foundational enabler for a successful COE. What are some of the other foundational enablers in your view, Gurpreet, to establish and scale a COE?
Yeah, so like I said, right, one is making sure they start with that capability or the confidence, self-confidence, growing into consistency, and then collaborating with those opportunities will come once you are consistently driving something. you're consistently showing results and beating the bar that's been set for you, you will get more opportunities. How do you grab those opportunities? One element which kind of goes unnoticed is you have to take certain risks. Okay, I'm not saying be headlong and just dive into every opportunity that comes. But if you believe, when you sit with your technical leaders and your staff and you say, hey, this has come our way, and if you collectively believe that you're 80% there, there's a doubt, I think you need to jump in. You need to have that faith that and that's where having one of the elements is having a passionate set of individuals who really want to go drive this and make it happen would help. So that's one element, Karan, that generally you don't talk enough about it. But in my journey, we've taken that a few times when some other view has come where we had no knowledge. For example, I'll give you one example. On we started to we got this opportunity to help out discrete graphics team. We had no background in that area. We didn't have the capability, but we knew where we were strong and what elements that we had. We counted on that, and we created more opportunities for the team to learn. Right. See, this is one element that gets missed out. A lot of our technical leaders, they want to do diverse set of work. They don't want to keep on doing the same thing over and over again. So when these kind of opportunities came our way, saying, hey, we've seen this team deliver fantastic results for client. Hey, can you guys support us? We want to be in Bangalore, and we heard that you guys are doing a good job. Now, one reaction could be, no, we haven't delved into discrete graphics. The other is, okay, let's figure it out, get it. But you need to get the support of your next level. You need to make sure that your technical leaders, your engineering managers are super excited about this opportunity and they're gung-ho about it. And then you can convert that passion into results. Even though you may have that doubt, that last 20%, you may not be sure how you're going to do it, but ultimately it happens.
That's interesting. So, client computing group, as we understand within Intel, is one of the key groups, probably second highest in terms of revenues and pretty profitable as well. Within the client computing group, the platform and system groups plays a critical role. So could you highlight some of the business impact that you have delivered in the past in the context of delivering, in the context of the client computing group itself?
Yeah, so just to, the three key deliverables from us, I'll talk about the first one in a little bit more detail, which is the making sure that when a silicon has to power on within Intel, client silicon, which eventually will go through the internal journey of thoroughly getting validated before it lands on with a customer when they start to build a product around that silicon. That journey of that silicon starts with its power on, right? I'm sure. I mean, I'm starting where we intercept that journey, but the journey starts even much before that in terms of architecture and all that. But when it comes to life, that's when you need this larger validation board that I talked about. That's the key deliverable of this CoE for whole of CCG roadmap. So if there's any CCG silicon powering on anywhere, this CoE has to deliver a hardware that enables that power on, enables that validation. And you can just for a quick kind of to talk about the importance of that, we need to make sure that when we are powering on that silicon in the lab, there is only one variable, and that variable should be silicon, not your platform hardware. So we do whole bunch of quality checks, and these are not just simple quality checks. We actually power on the board without the silicon. Make sure that it's completely checked out. We have 100% confidence, and then we give this board into the lab, and it has to be in the lab waiting for the silicon. It should never be the other way around. So that tells you about the time schedule as well, right? it's non-acceptable that silicon has come in and you don't have a board, or you don't have a healthy board, or when the board comes in you have doubts about if the silicon is not, if there are some issues, it should be the silicon team debugging what's happening on the silicon rather than worrying about the board part of it. So that's the and like I said, since we own that for overall CCG roadmap, you can imagine the impact it's creating for our CCG business. So we've ensured time over time we publish our success indicators, and that's a consistency piece of it. We'll publish our success indicators every quarter. It goes out to the whole world. We tell them how we are meeting cost, quality, schedule, and there are a couple of other indicators. I'll talk about those as well. So that's on one part of it. The other part where we've impacted directly the business, Karan, is what we started out with was the reference design piece. So it's not just that, hey, we give reference design, we actually measure our success of the reference design. And the measure of the success for the reference design is how many of our customers are adopting that. So we check with our customers. We consistently, continuously find out, and actually, as you can imagine, right, a reference design for a mainstream laptop will be very different than a reference design for a very premium flagship product that our OEMs want to launch in the market. So we drive a bunch of different reference designs for each of those segments, and then find out how our customers are using those reference designs. And what we've seen, the amount of ease that our customers have in designing a laptop with Intel Silicon has gone significantly up in terms of their ability to get a product out. So they are, in fact, what the indication that we got was they are looking for collateral much earlier. When I say collateral, this is a reference design, schematics, layout, everything that needs to get a full system design out. They're asking for it much earlier than what it was before. So there's a kind of a pull to the point where now they're asking for engineers by name. So we have people within our COE who Lenovo or HP or Samsung or Dell, their system architects, their technical leaders are asking specifically for certain people, saying, hey, can we get that person on this? Can we get this your antenna expert? We need help. So that shows the impact that this COE has created for CCG.
So you spoke about how some of the customers are asking to work with certain individuals in the team. So this is largely positioning them as thought leaders in this space. So what's really led to this paradigm of establishing thought leaders within your team, that customers are actually citing that they want to work with specific individuals?
Yeah, and this will take me back a little bit, Karan, a few years back when I told you about the winning aspiration exercise. This is one of the best exercises that we've done as a team, where we came up with this vision of, hey, we can be a COE, let's work towards it, right? Once the team came up with that grounds up vision, our technical leaders, they really transformed the whole team. We instead of naturally the team is still from people management perspective still set up in the right way it should be, but we started informal virtual you can call them teams, which we call them FUBs. FUBs is basically functional unit blocks. These are domains of a full system design. And each of our technical leaders, took the responsibility, saying, "Hey, for example, our antenna expert will say, I'll drive this. I own it. I drive it because I need to get additional people ready to take on and do a lot more because we're going to scale, right?" So he or she would start that FUB work group, invite the people who have some background but not well versed, or who have just pure interest. They don't have their engineering background, but they have a lot of interest. They want to try out, right? They want to learn something more on that domain. So we had different levels of people in each of those FUB work groups. which is led by the architect of that particular domain. And there are tens of these, right? Different domains, as you can imagine. What happened through that, Karan, was as the domain expert started to build up the team that could now take a lot more and deliver, that person was freed up to actually start thinking what's next rather than worried about what to do today, right? So that freed him up. He started thinking about what's next, what are the challenges, and these challenges, again, we can anticipate as well, and we do. But the best is to go talk to your customers. So this is when these leaders, our domain leaders or the FOB leaders, they started to talk with our ODMs, OEMs, going to them, sitting with them, having discussions, finding out what are they finding as the very critical areas where they need help. Especially designing laptops around IA, right? And then they came back and they started to and they actually used the same work group. They came back and gave those problem statements to that work group. It's not that they're going to go and solve this. They found out what are the key critical challenges, and then they worked within their FOB to go figure it out. What are the innovations that we need to go drive? And that got everyone excited and working towards those solutions, while these guys were directly interacting with our OEM partners. So that's the to your answer, how did we come up with these thought leaders? It started with very small effort of, hey, let's bring up the level of competence, and that because you can't scale if you're relying on just one or two individuals. So they created their followership internally. That brought the level of the whole team up. And once that level was up, so the rest of the folks were doing day-to-day execution, while these guys were freed up to go talk with our customers directly. And that led to DHL, Dell, HP, Lenovo asking by name for these individuals.
That's interesting. So while you built this nucleus team, Gurpreet, was this a team that was built with expats who came back to India? Was it a team built with local talent? If you could share some insights on that.
More than the expats, Karan, largely this isn't homegrown internal people that we've picked from industry here itself. The advantage that we get, the support that we got from our management was, which I think was a kind of a turning point for, which I would say was another vector that helped us to be a strong COE, was in the starting phase as we were coming up. We got a lot of support from our management to have long rotations for some of our folks and this is our really strong technical leaders. To be in US, to be where the at that time decision making was happening, right? For them to be visible, for them to be in the same hallways where the decision makers were, and to establish that rapport, to establish that close connect with the leadership there. And sometimes it's year-long rotations or longer, and they could come back. And with that network that they've already established, it becomes that much easier for us to have that influence. So that was more than the, I won't call it expats part of helping, it's the other way around. Our folks going there and sitting there and working for a year or longer, that has helped. That's one. And the other support that we got was, for example, our whole PC ecosystem today, though we're trying to get it up and vibrant in India as well, but still largely exists in China and Taiwan. We've had people, who were, again, I'm talking about going back to the passion part, right? People who were really passionate and wanted to do things and wanted to change things. They actually would go there and sit in Taiwan. You can imagine how hard it is for a person from here sitting there in a country where the language itself is a huge barrier sometimes. But that passion drove them to do this, and they had extended arrangements to work directly with our ODMs, sit with them, and it was a kind of a learning both ways, where as we were coming up, we were learning how ODMs get products out, what are the things that they need to do, and that helped us to actually make sure that the collateral that we provide, the reference design that we provide now, are really the best in class, both in terms of the quality, in terms of what they need, and more importantly, when they need it. So we make sure that our collateral hits our ODMs absolutely at the right time when they need to make certain decisions as they're going along their product timelines.
As you bring up some of these timelines around product itself, Gurpreet, so one of the questions that I see is, is the COE also responsible for laying out the product roadmaps itself, right? And product roadmaps, both from a product and a technology perspective. And is it also responsible for looking at these some of these plans, both from regional as well as a global view?
So I'll take it in two steps. One, if when you say product, for Intel, when you say product, silicon, right? There's no doubt about it. So we influence that. We talk about what's needed and what in next gen silicon, for example, based on the learnings that we had working with customers, we feed that back in. But does this team get a silicon on the roadmap, or say that that's not the case, right? We influence what goes on to silicon. We influence the cadence. We talk about what are the pain points that our customers are having if we are missing the cadence. So all that is there. Now, beyond that, there's the other level, right? Which is, let's say we have a silicon, and that's our Intel's product, right? And okay, on that silicon, this team decides what is the collateral that will be, so which segment that silicon is going to play in. Are we going to have mainstream designs? Are we going to have this silicon is focused only on, let's say, premium devices only, and not much of a play on the mainstream side? Based on that, we decide that roadmap. So that roadmap is clearly owned by us in terms of what we need to deliver to our customers. And that's based on the needs of the customers. That's based on what the advocacy of the platform, advocacy of the silicon is. We decide what are the right reference designs to be given to our customers. And once we have that, the other thing that we completely own and decide is the roadmap of the system technologies. So what are the technologies that need to be delivered on that particular platform, which are will bring out the best in that generation. That is owned by us, and we publish that for next 3 to 4 years. Of course, need to be, as industry changes, as things progress, we may tweak it, but we show that to our customers, saying, hey, this is, for example, if you we sit with Dell, HP, Lenovo, Samsung, any of our customers or our ODMs, will, let's say thermals comes up as a topic, we'll show next 4 to 5 years, what are we looking at in terms of either working with the ecosystem to get better fans out or better vapor chamber. What are we doing to the cost of those ingredients? What are the new innovations which are not even today existing, which is looking at 4 to 5 years ahead, what we are thinking about or working at, so that they get that confidence that, hey, there's a clear pipeline of innovations that are coming from this team. So that we own. So silicon roadmap, we don't own that. The reference collateral, what goes out to customers, that we clearly own based on that platform's advocacy, and system technologies roadmap is owned by us.
Right. So Gurpreet, you spoke about some of these innovations, right? So is patent a key metric or a key KPI for the talent in your team? In our last conversation with Deepesh, he did mention that when it comes to Samsung, there's about 20% of the workforce constituting the Samsung Research India Center, where where they're measured in terms of their patent output. So is that a metric even in the context of Intel?
So
more specifically in the context of your group.
Yeah, so for technical leaders, wherever at Intel, right, they will be measured on IP protection, IP generation. That's part of their their deliverables. They have to show they're doing a lot more as they're growing. But keeping that aside, when we started out, Karan, this used to be, hey, let's go, we gotta have, X number of patents in a year and, drive towards it. Now it's a more natural byproduct of, because we're doing a lot more innovation, we are talking to our customers, we're understanding their pain points, and we're trying to solve those pain points through innovations. As those innovations happen, the IP generation is a byproduct. What we make sure is that we have a robust process that ensures that we don't miss out on an opportunity to add to Intel's IP portfolio. So for example, if we sat with a customer and found out that they are having issues in terms of cooling X watts in certain thickness of a device, we would go back to the table, we figure it out, hey, we can make the vapor chamber thinner, right? That'll help them. And that thin vapor chamber needs a new technology in terms of the wick structure. It has to be very differently done, manufactured. And so first thing, our structure, our process of taking an innovation from idea to proof of concept to eventually testing it out to eventually landing it on a product, it's a very robust process. There are at least 4 or 5 checkpoints in that. At every checkpoint, one of the questions is, is there an IP in it? Do we have and if there is, if the answer comes back as yes, there is a solid IP that we have come up with, then we make sure that we file that first, get it done before we even open it up and talk with, in certain cases, we have to talk with our ecosystem partners to enable that. Focus in terms of IP generation is there, but it's not the primary focus anymore, Karan. It's more of, because we're doing a lot of innovation, we put a process in place, IP generation is happening, IP protection is happening, and we are adding to Intel's portfolio.
Gurpreet, as I understand, the Center of Excellence is more global. So can you give a context in terms of how the teams are distributed between India and globally, and what's the level of autonomy that's been accorded to this team? And I have a follow-up question here from the audience where they say, how do you measure productivity and effectiveness at the COE, and how does it compare with those in the US? So the question there is that even a metric? Is productivity even a metric in today's times to compare between US and India?
Yeah, so like I said earlier, right, any organization should have, any good organization, let me put it that way, should have some way of measuring their throughput, their effectiveness and their efficiency, right, as they're delivering those. And generally, accepted norm is you look at the cost, quality, and schedule, right? How are you doing on those aspects? So what we've done, besides the cost, quality, schedule metric that as you can imagine, like I said, any organization, COE, non-COE, wherever, you should be doing that. What we've done beyond that is 2 more matrices that we've added. One is on the customer part of it, right? How are our customers perceiving us? And the other one is our partners. Are we making it easier? Which is back to your other question, Karan, because we are just a platform hardware and system hardware organization. For us to deliver, let's say I want to give the best user experience for collaboration, what we're doing right now, right, on a Zoom call. I want to make sure that when you are doing it on an Intel laptop, you get really cool and quiet experience. The fans should not be running, so you can't hear any other audible noise, and your laptop should be cool to touch, and you get the best performance, right? The frames per second should be just absolutely what needed for Zoom for you to have a wonderful collaboration experience. So for us to deliver that whole experience, of course, we need to make sure that the camera is absolutely of the right quality, and the hardware is what we are delivering is absolutely the best. But it takes firmware, BIOS, software, apps, third-party app. All that has to be put together for us to give that experience. So the fifth metric that we publish every quarter is how are we doing with our partners? How are we easy to work? Are we an organization that's easy to work with? Are our partners perceiving it that way as well, right? So talking with our software folks, firmware, BIOS teams, we get that every quarter feedback from them and then publish that. And going back to the fourth one, which is customer, which is absolutely critical for, especially on the reference design, we have set a bar really high. For the premium designs that are out there, our bar is that 100% of those designs should take some elements of our reference design. So we go back and check that, how are we doing on that? So in terms of measuring the success of a COE, those are the things. Besides the cost quality schedule, which is given, all of us, should measure our organizations on that metric. For us, more important is how are my customers perceiving me, and how are my partners? Do they like working with me, or are they finding issues? So, and we openly publish these indicators every quarter, and then naturally, and you keep setting the bar higher every year or gen over gen.
The other part of the question also, Gurpreet, was around what's the constitution of the team from a global perspective, and what's the level of autonomy that's been accorded to this team?
So if you're talking about the COE, for us, even for us, we are 90%, headcount wise, we are based in Bangalore, right? But we have a small team in Malaysia, we have a small team in Taiwan, and we have a very small team in US. The reason we have these very small organization, very small footprint there, part of the COE, is one, what I mentioned earlier, and it goes without saying, having a small team in Taiwan is absolutely critical for us to work with our partners there, which is IHVs and ISVs and people that we need to bring along with us to make sure that ecosystem is ready for the next user experience, next system technologies that we need to get out on the laptops. And then beyond that, our customers are there, right? Our ODMs and OEMs are there. Having that team actually helps a whole lot, right? Even though all the work and the thought leadership comes from Bangalore, but having a team there who can go and sit with the customer, and it's coming in really handy right now because we can't travel. And I talked about the virtual face-to-face, even though it was virtual for us, but my team there could actually go and sit with the customer in the room and have that discussion while we are leading the discussion from here. Now, same goes for Malaysia and US. It's mainly because the first part of our major deliverable that we have, which is the validation hardware, it's spread globally for us. Having small teams there, it helps us to stay connected with our customers. So that's a composition of the COE, Karan.
That helps. So those were interesting insights. Now the question around ecosystem partnerships. Do you work with the ecosystem as a part of your COE in terms of working with startups, universities, and what's been your learning from some of these partnerships, and what's been the impact of some of these partnerships?
Yeah, so definitely on both the fronts. So we start in terms of ecosystem partnerships, right? First of all, we work with established IHVs as well. Let's start with that, right? It's not that we need to, because our OEM partners generally have a easier time or they're better. We can convince them much easier if we're bringing technology through a established IHV partner, right? Independent hardware vendor. For example, if I'm doing a new fan design, let's say team has come up with a new blade architecture, a new blade design that can reduce the noise of the fan while still giving the same performance as previous gen fan. I would rather work with the established IHV, at least few of them, so that when our OEMs are looking for adopting that technology, they know that these are established names, and going to them, it's much easier for them. Rather than the other part, which also we do, let's say as we scan the ecosystem, as we come across some startup that has a completely revolutionized the fan technology, we will work with them. We will have multiple options of depending upon how we view that technology. We can make it very specific for Intel and make sure that we license it out, or even go M&A route if we believe that that's really something that's going to completely change and don't want to miss out on that opportunity. Or if we believe that that's it doesn't fall into any of those categories, then we can still work with them, get them to that level, and then connect them with because ultimately for us, success is not that we got this technology, which is for us the success is if that lands on a product, right? If it doesn't land on a product, it's sitting in my lab, it's meaningless. So we make sure that we get that startup airtime with or at least the technology airtime with our partners, convince them. When I say a partner, in this case, Dell, HP, Lenovo, Samsung, our OEM partners, ODM partners, get them convinced, show them the results, work with the startup, get it to that level that OEMs are willing to take that bet and move on and have that as part of their product. So that's the second level, and then naturally for us to stay really competitive, a lot of work gets done with universities. There's always collaboration going on all the three fronts: the thermal innovations, antenna technologies, and board miniaturization. And when I say board miniaturization, this is how do you shrink the overall board that goes into the laptop so that you can have bigger battery, you can have bigger thermal solution, you can have bunch of other things that can help ultimately the customer, as long as you shrink that motherboard down as much as possible. So there's a whole bunch of work that goes on with university collaboration on all these three fronts. Karan, specifically, we have ongoing collaboration with IITs on thermals as we speak.
So, you earlier mentioned about, as you were, creating the CoE as it was taking shape, you had these technical role models who actually honed, some of the next level of talent to deliver. So, in terms of where we stand today, what are you currently doing in terms of scaling the talent and getting them upskilled to meet the fast-paced innovation needs?
Yeah, so like I said, for us, everything revolves on making sure that we're staying ahead of the game. I don't want the failure for us would be that we hear about pain points from a customer as they begin to design. We'd like to hear about it beforehand, so that we've at least acknowledged it. We may not have a solution every time, by the way. Let's not. It's sometimes naturally customers are looking to go as sleek as possible and make sure that you have absolutely the best experience. But at least acknowledge that, work on it, show it to them. That is what keeps the domain leads or the FUB leads excited and motivated to go look for solutions. And they're also, the other thing that is happening with them is they're also partnering or co-creating sometimes with our customers also. Our OEMs have really strong capabilities in certain domains. And now that they have these connects, that the two technical leadership teams are talking, there could be some very specific solutions that come for that particular customer, right? Then we keep it very specific to that particular customer. We don't broadly, because it becomes a joint IP there. So there are multiple avenues like that, but all of that starts, Karan, with understanding the pain points and trying to solve those. That's what keeps us going. That's what keeps the technical leaders motivated. And the other thing that has happened for us, because we are a COE in Bangalore, the other BUs have started to come out and reach out and have asked us to establish, this capability for them in Bangalore. That also helps to broaden the perspective for our technical leaders. So today, our technical leaders who've been doing, client system design innovation for so many years, is all of a sudden getting into DG domain, right? Discrete graphics domain. So he's bringing a whole bunch of knowledge with him on overall system design, and he's co-creating or working with the technical leaders in the discrete graphics domain, and the result is just amazing, right? Because this is where what I talked about earlier, right? When you have a diversity in thoughts, you get really good creative solutions, and that excites the technical leaders as well. So that's another advantage that we have because we are a COE, that we get these opportunities. Camera group will come and work with us. There'll be, I gave the discrete graphics example already. There'll be FPGA folks, right? Within Intel, there's a group that that delivers FPGA-based solutions. They're coming in, and we've already established that team here. And a couple of my technical leaders actually moved from CCG domain to that, which we encourage, right? Because it keeps them excited. They are kind of learning about a new domain while bringing their knowledge from the CCG side into that. And that has resulted in amazing results for each of those businesses, and helps us to grow together as a COE. So it's a bunch of those avenues, Karan, that we open up to our technical leaders so that they stay motivated, excited, and hungry to do more and different.
Perfect. So Gurpreet, you mentioned at the start that you had set this winning aspiration about what this COE is going to be a few years ago. What's that winning aspiration today, right? So how do you see yourself as a COE, let's say 5 years from now?
Yeah. So actually, our winning aspiration was to be the center of excellence for platform and systems hardware at Intel. We are the COE for CCG. We are still ways to go for becoming that for overall Intel. So that's where, I talked about DG coming and joining us. I talked about CLE, which is our compute logic engineering group, which is basically FPGA group joining us, camera group joining us. There are still few more. So there are that vision is still not we've still not hit that. So we are still on a journey, in my opinion. As and when we get other BUs who are taking notice and start to work with us, and we become the platform and systems hardware engineering organization for Intel, not for CCG. That would be really the culmination of for me personally and for this team, culmination of the journey that we've been on. And so that's what we're working towards.
I see some questions about semiconductor shortages, etc. So Madhu, my request to you is maybe we could have a separate session, where we can talk about the trends, because since this session is largely focused on COEs, maybe I thought we could look at some of those questions as a part of a separate forum, but those are certainly important questions that are begging answers at this juncture. But that apart, Gurpreet, we're almost at the top of the hour. It was a wonderful discussion, a lot of details, a lot of insights, and that was, as I said, the objective with which we embarked on these immersive sessions. Thank you very much. I thoroughly enjoyed, and I'm sure audience too have a lot of insights to take home from this discussion that they could probably adopt as a part of their respective organizations. Thank you very much again, Gurpreet. Madhu, over to you.
Yeah, Thank you so much, Karan and Gurpreet. I think I know we had a very interesting session, and I think like we went a lot deeper, and I think we truly lived to the word like what we have coined, like the two immersive series. And for the participants, like we would come out with a kind of a playbook sort of things, like which will essentially capture all those points which got discussed during the last and this current session. And thank you once again. Thanks, Gurpreet, for taking your time and joining with us. And I look forward to continue this dialogue.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, participants, for joining in.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.